Hi everyone, I'm Yashasvi Sankara, a second year here studying computer science and public policy, and I'm thrilled to introduce LedgeMD. So let's get right into it. LedgeMD is in the healthcare credentialing space. What is healthcare credentialing, you might ask? Well, it's the process of verifying that healthcare professionals have the necessary qualifications, licenses, and skills to provide safe and effective patient care. So we can check through a couple of key elements. This can be things like education, if they have a degree, what their degree is in, residency if they're a doctor, nursing school if they're a nurse, etc., training, certifications, past problems if they have any, and background checks. And the purpose to do all of this verification process before healthcare providers are given a job is to safeguard patient care by ensuring provider competency and compliance from our healthcare providers. Well, can we guess how much credentialing delays cost healthcare organizations per physician per day in terms of lost revenue? It's $9,000 per day. Well, to put this into context, there's 14.7 million healthcare workers employed in the United States, which accounts for 9.3% of total US employment. And if we think even 1% of these healthcare workers are switching jobs, maybe going to a new hospital, moving to an area, or there's new grads or new individuals looking to get a job in the industry, with healthcare credentialing delays being so high, it can be an incredibly costly process. So our target would be hospitals, clinics, individual providers, etc. Just a quick table of contents. We talked about our problem. We're going to talk about the current process, LedgeMD, some notes, a timeline, and then funding, feasibility, and risks. Let's take the example of Andrew. He's a registered nurse and he's moving from Boston to our very own Charlottesville. Here's what the current process kind of looks like. He needs to submit some paperwork to his new employer in Charlottesville, providing his credentials, licensing, education, work history. And then after that, he's kind of out of the loop for a little bit. So we'll come back to him. And then his information will go through a manual verification, including background checks and verification calls to past employers, schools, and state licensing boards, just to name a few. And then the waiting period will begin. His credentials are often stuck in a long queue waiting for each verification step to be completed. And this is repeated across multiple entities in multiple organizations. So these calls are made to hospitals, insurance companies, other places, and they often request the same type of information, duplicating these efforts and adding to delays. And this is a very lengthy approval. Approval can take weeks or even months, keeping Andrew from starting work promptly. And then finally, down the line, if everything goes well, he'll get approval. It's a time consuming, error prone, and costly process, and it creates inefficiencies for both Andrew and the healthcare organization. And currently, competitors are just a software led third party administrator who just take the burden off the hospitals to do the credentialing process, but not really shortening this timeline I have listed. So, in my opinion, it's time to innovate. So, let's get into how LedgeMD solves this problem. So, what is LedgeMD? It's a decentralized platform that centralizes information through a digital platform that simplifies and accelerates the credentialing process through blockchain technology. So, don't run away yet. So, we have three main ways how we're going to combat this problem. First one, a digital credentialing wallet that will store and update providers' verified credentials securely, and this gives power back to Andrew and keeps him in the loop. A blockchain database which ensures transparent, tamper-proof credential verification, and it kind of creates an immutable record-keeping way to do this, and it enhances trust and compliance with regulatory standards. And finally, authorized node integration. This will allow the seamless information sharing across these healthcare entities, where they don't need to do all these calls and duplicate information in all these efforts. And this ensures faster verification and onboarding. So, a couple of information about blockchain benefits: it's increased security, greater transparency, cost reduction, and I just had a diagram on how it's listed. A timeline from here, I'm looking to validate this idea right now, continue development in the future, a pilot launch, and then rolling out and iterating after we do a pilot launch with some partner organizations. And I'm working with the state agency to explore these kind of stakeholder connections and understand how much of a process this has been and how much more policy can be changed. Some funding, feasibility, and risks. I'm currently bootstrapping the venture. Funding would give me social proof. It would also give me a great use of user research and validation for backing. And then, of course, healthcare risks and mitigants. That's all I had today. Thank you. I'd love to answer all of your questions. Please email me or call me